What's up, guys? This is AAA Taco here with an Ark Survival Evolved YouTube video, a tutorial video. I'm here with 3XA Boomin.
Allahu Akbar.
And we're bringing you a tutorial video on Ark Survival Evolved breeding. We're going to be talking about the 4 stages of breeding. We're going to be talking about the mating stage, the incubating stage, the baby stage, and the juvenile/adolescent stage. A few tips about breeding: do not breed if you're not going to be dedicated, and if you don't have much time. Breeding takes a while. Breeding is tedious, but it is well worth it. Another tip is have appropriate tames, have decent tames to breed with, and make sure you have something to get and farm meat or berries. So now we're going to start with the stages for breeding. Here is stage 1. This is the mating stage. This is where we mate all of our breeds. Boomin here is going to show you how to mate. In order to start mating, you have to have a male and female. And here, he'll show you. You have to put them first on. You have to first put them on wander. And as soon as you enable wandering on the male and female, you have to start whistle stopping simultaneously until an egg drops. And a percentage on one of the breeds or one of the tames will show you how much the percentage is at. So once this hits 100, it'll drop an egg. You pick the egg up, and then you disable wandering on both the breeds. Now for the next station is the incubating station. This is the beginning of the long process of breeding, the part that takes a lot of time. Obviously, Boomin and I are on a dedicated server, so the times are accelerated, so we can speed up the video so you guys don't have to watch a day's worth of video. We're breeding Spinos. So normally this would take around 3 days, but on our server they'll probably take 2 seconds. So once you got your egg, make sure you got a platform like this. Now you'd be wondering, why would this incubate an egg? Well, we'll show you right here. Boomin made this. This is a very efficient way of making air conditioning. Boomin, can you explain what you did here?
Yeah, so basically, it's a lot more, it's more efficient use of your space. You could place all the eggs on top of this platform out here, and it'll still use it'll still give you a buff of hyperthermal and hypothermal insulation, meaning you'll be able to incubate your eggs no matter where they are on top of this metal platform.
Exactly, and to explain the hypo and hyperthermal insulation, air conditioning doesn't cool the temperature in the area. Air conditioning stabilizes the temperature in the area. So the more complicated breed you're doing, the more air conditioning you're going to need. So if you're just beginning to breed, I recommend you have 6 to 8 air conditioning depending on where you live on the map, if it's cold, if it's hot, if it's mediocre. And if you're going to complex breeding like breeding Quetzals and Gigas, I do recommend that you have no less than 15 air conditioning, also depending on where you live. And again, that's an efficient way to make a incubating platform. And as you can see, this is also a pretty efficient way of making an incubating room with your refrigerators for meat, for eggs, and then your grills over here. Now, I do advise that you might want to put your grills outside because the grills can affect the temperature inside your room, which might lead to you needing more air conditioning. And then we'll get to this part over here, the troughs, after we incubate our eggs. So here I'm going to throw down the egg and let it incubate. Now it's going to incubate very quickly. As you see, the timer goes down. The spino popped. Usually the baby stage would take a lot longer than this, but while it's in a baby stage, Boom, can you handle that?
Yep.
While it's in a baby stage, you cannot use troughs to feed it. You have to put meat in it, like as we're doing right now. Usually I prefer to put raw meat since it eats it very quickly. It's not a good idea to use cooked meat unless it's well into its baby stage. Baby stages vary depending on how complex your breed is. So usually for simple things like pteranodons, they don't last very long. But for gigas, they last very long. You should check the dodo decks for every breed you do because it gives you a full analysis of how the breed will go. Once it hits the juvenile, you can start using tech troughs and normal feeding troughs. What this allows you to do is you can put cooked meat and raw meat inside of it so that you can, if you need to get off or something, you don't have to watch the baby anymore and hand feed it yourself. You can actually just leave food in multiple troughs. It's good to have cooked meat because cooked meat doesn't spoil as quickly, but raw meat does give the breed more food per meat. So keep that in mind. I just usually use cooked meat as a backup just because, again, it lasts longer than raw meat. The third stage, which our Spino is getting into here, is the adolescent stage. Just at this stage, the breed does not eat as quickly, and as you can tell, it has grown a lot, and this is the final period of its growth. You don't have to watch it very much, but you should still be careful with food and such, especially for things like gigas, because they do eat very quickly no matter what stage. And you'll see this number, it says here wants care in 7 hours. This is called imprinting. So if I were to be playing on a normal server, it would say this wouldn't be growing as quickly, and then at 7 hours it would say wants care at the top with a little pacifier at the top. This means that the Spino wants an imprint. It can be kibble, it can be a walk, it can be cuddling, and that in an imprint gives the Spino boost. As you can tell here, it says 0% imprint, but say I were to get 50% imprint, these stats here that you see would not be the same. They would be completely different because each imprint buffs the stats on the breed. So obviously you want to get a better imprint. Better imprint means better dino. So this Spino is just about finished here, and we just bred a Spino in less than 2 minutes. That's not possible. That's only possible on dedicated. But yep, breeding seems pretty simple, but it does take a lot of dedication, time, farming for meat, berries if you're doing a berry tame. You do need resources. You do need to be somewhat built up and stabilized. Any tips, Boomin? Any experiences you've had with breeding that you can add?
Not really, other than just be vigilant and watching your tame. It does get really boring, but it's gonna be worth it.
It's super worth it. And now one of the big things the reason that people breed is called mutation. Mutation is, as you keep breeding, it begins to form like a special stat line of a special stat line, and it comes in mutations. So once you start breeding more and your stat lines evolve, your dino will start evolving different colors, which boosts its stats on each pop. So if I were to breed 8 more generations of these Spinos, I'll probably eventually get some sort of color and a lot better stats than what I have right now, and better level, etc., etc. So in the long run, breeding is very good. It is overpowered and it can be exploited a lot in Ark. I do think that they should increase timers and decrease the ability for people to breed, but that's just my personal opinion. This right here is how mega tribes get so big. This is pretty much breeding in a nutshell. Obviously, there are different types of breeding. This is the simplest breeding. This is breeding with eggs, of just mating. Now there's different types of breeding, like breeding with wyvern eggs, which you have to go to a den and get the eggs. Then there's breeding with rock drakes, which you also have to get eggs, or reaper kings, which are, I'm not gonna even get to that because that's very complicated. And there's breeding with like mammals. So This is the simplest way of breeding. This is where you should start. You should probably start with flyers such as Pteranodons, RGs, or tames such as Stegos, and simpler things. Don't get into the complicated stuff because it's also harder to get it. My next tutorial video, I'll be going over trading an ARC, the difficulties and the strategies of how to trade an ARC. I hope you enjoyed this video, this tutorial on how to breed. I hope you can be very successful in breeding. Anything to add, Boomin? Anything else?
No, covered all the bases.
Yep, these are the simple tricks and tips to breeding. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. See you around.